Welcome everyone to the Thursday Night Live. My name is Ivan LaCroix and here for Lake Country Manufacturing. We're going to be doing a little demonstration today on this 1973 Volvo P1800 ES. My personal car, I've had it for 20 some years, had it repainted not long ago, and it just needs a little touching up here, so we'll do that for the finishing before we put a coating on it. And no, tonight we're not talking about coatings. We're talking One of my favorite pads, and I mentioned it last week when we were talking about the LC Originals, is the double-sided black pad. And that's this here. So the double-sided black pad features CCS technology, which makes polishing a lot easier, a lot simpler, and gives you a better user experience. That user experience in terms of you're not going to get the pad grabbing the paint as much as you would with a flat pad. So it's a much nicer, easier user experience. From there, I always start with a clean pad, and that doesn't necessarily mean a new pad. That means a pad that we've gone through our Lake Country System 3000D pad washer. So we've cleaned the pad, and there's snappy clean in the machine. Once we've cleaned the pad, then we spin it out at high speed. So the high speed the machine will go, just spin it out for a second or two. It doesn't take long, and that takes away all the excess moisture, just leaving you with a nice damp pad. You don't want a wet pad, you don't want to sling water everywhere, you just want a nice damp pad. Now, one of the things with the CCS technology, let me find my polish, I had it here a second ago. Seems to have wandered away on me. There it is. Found it. Okay. So one thing with the CCS technology is you have these little columns. What the columns are great for is putting your 3 or 4 dots of polish in the columns. And now that the dots of polish are in the columns, it allows me to polish the vehicle, and when I'm polishing, if I want to add a little more polish to the surface, I just press a little harder. Now, I always finish, or not always, but a high percentage of the time, I prefer finishing with a rotary. Just my way of doing things. If you finish with a DA, that's great as well. There's nothing wrong with that. With the rotary, it's whatever suits your needs, your styles, and works best for you. So using it at low speed, in this case 600 RPM, and slow arm movement. And you'll notice I'm using the trigger lock. So the trigger lock is there for a reason on tools, and that is to A, prevent carpal tunnel syndrome, but B, also makes your life a lot easier. It gives you a better range of movement. Now, you'll see that some people are afraid of the rotary. I'm barely holding on to the machine. I'm using 3 fingers, and that's all I need. I'm not applying any pressure. There's no need to apply pressure. Pressure creates heat, and heat is very bad, A, for your pads, but also dries out your polish a lot. Now, as I mentioned, if I want to add a little more polish to the surface, CCS, turn it off for a second. See, there's still some in those dots. I just give a little press on it, and there we have more polish on the surface. Now, the rotary also affords you great precision. Since it creates less heat than the DA, you have a lot of working time with the polish. So finishing with the rotary, should be stress-free, should be easy, should be something that not a problem to do. If you've never done it, practice. Get yourself a test panel, get yourself a customer car that they don't care about, a dealership car, whatever, or on your own vehicle. You're not going to hurt your paint unless you really try. The pad again. Because we never put clean polish on a dirty pad. I add a little more polish here. There's no need to put a lot of polish on. Back up. So when we have an area like this that has a concave section, the goal is to try to keep the pad as flat as possible. Now, the double-sided CCS is a very thick pad, so I'm actually keeping it flat to the surface, but it's going in there. But if you're using a thinner pad, that's when you put a slight angle to your pad. You don't want to put a lot. Now, a lot of people are worried about holograms using a rotary. And holograms happen not because of the machine, not because of the pad, because of the user. And one of the things that creates holograms is doing this. So going up on an angle. And when you're going up on an angle, you're using a lot less of the pad, so your polishing is a lot less efficient. But at the same time, you're creating pressure points and potentially holograms. So again, polishing with a rotary, finishing with a rotary, super easy. It's not going to walk away on you. It's not going to run. It's not going to try to take you on a trip. It's just a very easy machine to control. A lot of fun. And as you can tell, relatively quiet too. And those of us that have been in detailing a long time, well, the rotary was the only game in the 80s. So we had to learn the rotary. It wasn't an option. Now, those of you, I noticed there's some comments coming across the screen. The phone's a little far away from me, so I can't read it, unfortunately. Getting old, your eyesight, isn't the greatest anymore. So, if you could hold off on the questions for a few minutes, I'll finish the demonstration, and then I'll get closer to the phone and we'll be able to answer all those questions for you. Off. We don't have any holograms. Let me see if I can. No, I don't have a. Well, my light is my phone, so I don't have a light to show you. But I'm confident that there is no hologram, no streaking on this. I've done thousands of cars this way, so it's a simple process. Now, if you don't like a double-sided pad, we have single-sided pads as well at Lake Country in the CCS. So here's one of them here. This is the Precision Rotary pads. Great pad as well. This one is blue in color instead of the black. It's has a little more cut than the black. So great one-step pad as well. So great one-step pad. Of course, Lake Country backing plates. They're designed to go together. They work beautifully together. Now my adapter here, since I use the double-sided pad a lot, it's pretty much stuck onto my machine, but I can still use the Lake Country backing plate with it. Again, even though it's a brand new pad, I always clean it. I prefer working with a damp pad and a clean pad. Put a little more polish on it. Now, those of you that have tried a rotary in the past and had issues with it, there's a good chance you tried it with a flat pad. Try it with a CCS pad. You'll see that it's less demanding in terms of control. The thing is, turn the speed down. Back in the 70s when we were working on lacquer, yes, turning it up to 12, 13, maybe 1500 RPM was a normal thing, and that was the way to do it. We wanted to create heat. Today, with modern clear coats, we don't want to create heat. Now, this car, it's a 1973, it's 47 years old, but it has a modern clear coat on it. It was recently painted. So back down to speed 1. So this is like working with an extension, which sometimes you need to do to get into different areas. I put a little too much polish on the pad, as you can see, but let's work a larger area. So polishing should be relaxing, should be fun, should be easy. It shouldn't be stressful. And if it's stressful for you, practice. Get it so it is relaxing. Get it so that you can polish with one hand, or just a couple fingers. Now, the machine is not going to run away on you. The machine is not going to grab if you're not pressing on it. If you're not demanding of the machine in terms of, I want you to do this now, and yelling at it in a figurative way, the machine is going to treat you right. There we have it. I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to get so I can actually read the screen and answer your questions like we normally do on Thursday night. Just give me a second. Okay, very good. So now we can actually read the screen. Let's scroll down. Is it essential to use a rotary after polishing? No, it's not essential. It's not even necessary. So you can cut with a dual action machine. I personally cut with a dual action and finish with a rotary. So there's no real right way or wrong way of doing it. All you want to do is make sure that getting the finish that you want. And to achieve that finish, it's choosing the right pad, choosing the polish that fits you. Then you're good to go. There's a lot of, as I say, a lot of different ways of polishing paint. There's a lot of different ways to the results that you want to get at. So cutting with a DA, with a rotary, your choice. We have the thin purple foamed wool pad that on a DA is exceptional for cutting. We also have the low lint HDO pad, again, exceptional for cutting on a DA machine. So it's designed for the long stroke DA. It works wonderfully well. Let's catch up on the remarks. So Gene, thank you. Gene is the one that every week when we're doing these live sessions, if I something in the it pops up, well, that's Gene. So thanks a lot, Gene, for always being here and always helping out. Other than that, again, we're here to answer questions. As you saw in the demo, I finished with a rotary, which is my preferred way of finishing, and that's what I am. So there's no right or wrong way. If someone tells you you can't finish with a rotary, well, it's because they've never tried it. Or if they tried it, they didn't give themselves enough time to learn the skill. And same thing with the dual action machine. Some people will say, well, you can't cut with a dual action. Choosing the right pad, you definitely can cut with a dual action. I recently did a video with the crew at the Rag Company where we compared the cut of a rotary, a DA, or forced rotation DA, and a free spinning DA. The free spinning DA was the one that cut the fastest by far. The fourth generation DA was second, and the Rotary took any machine off or any paint off. So, okay, Johnny, if that's the answer you're wanting, hey. Cole, have you used their new machine that switches from DA to Rotary? Yes, the Udos. I'm waiting to get mine. I don't have one yet. I had a prototype. I sent it back for analysis because the prototypes keep coming back and forth between testers just to, once we use it for a certain number of hours, they open it back up, check it out. The control and the weight of the machine is spectacular. It's ergonomically balanced, we'll put it that way. Yes, it'll feel a little heavier in hand than most machines, but that weight actually works for you, not against you. If you polish like I was doing before, you'll see that it's not stressful. And the fact that it switches from a rotary to 4 different DA strokes. So we have an 8mm, a 12mm, 15, and 21. So you can really choose the stroke to whatever you want to do. Just one second here. Recommended pads for headlights, meaning some folks are skipping sanding and starting with wool and then moving to other pads. Curious. Yes, Chris. You can, now skipping sanding, no. If you want a durable headlight restoration, so you can get a quick and dirty headlight restoration, just polish it with a wool pad, polish it with a foam pad, and you'll get great looking results, but not long lasting results. To get long lasting results, we have to remove the oxidized plastic, and that's where the sanding comes in. Now, my personal way of sanding or finishing headlights, I sand with whatever I need to. Sometimes it's as low as 80 grit, but generally somewhere around 1,000 grit. Then I'll go to 1,500 and I'll start polishing. There's no need, or personally, I don't see a need going higher than that. Using a wool pad on the DA, a short nap wool pad, I'll cut and then I'll polish with a foam pad. Yes, so Cole, it changes strokes. So the UDOS stands for User-Defined Orbital Stroke. Doing so, you're able to switch on the fly between rotary and a free spinning 8mm DA, which we classify as a sanding stroke, not necessarily a polishing stroke. The 12mm, 15, and 21. 5 machines in one that give you a great balance, a great feel, very strong motor, excellent cord, great switch, excellent ergonomics. Ergonomics so good to the point that there's actually 3 different front handles available for it. The medium-sized handle comes with it, but you can also get a smaller handle and a larger handle, depending on how you enjoy holding the machine, how you enjoy polishing, and your hands as well. Those of us that have a little bit of arthritis in our hands enjoy the larger handle, and you younger folks that don't have that from holding on a machine years, well, you can use the smaller handle as well. As mentioned, it switches from rotary to DA, and the UDOS has specific pads because of that being able to switch from rotary to DA. At Lake Country, we have a great range of pads that are specifically designed for the rotary, and we also have a vast range of pads specifically designed for the DA. But finding a pad or a pad design, shape, and foam that was capable of switching, like the machine, from rotary to 8, 12, 15, and 21 millimeter required a lot of engineering. And those pads will be available as soon as the machine is available. Now, unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and parts are globally sourced for the UDOS 51E, that means not all the parts are in yet. When we get them in, the machine will be released as soon as we can. Trust me, we are chomping at the bit to get it out there just as fast as everybody else. And the pads, they're actually ready. They're in the factory. I saw them the last time I was there. They were just finishing up the first run of pads. So they're ready to go. They're also waiting for the machine. Do we have any other questions? Now, the questions can be general detailing. They don't have to be related to pads. They don't have to be related to polishing. I've got a few years of experience. Then I'm able to help. Cole, sorry, one more question about it. I have not followed it a bit. Is it out yet, or do you have? When will it be released? And thanks for answering. Yes. Well, thanks for asking questions. That's the whole reason of this, is question and answer, and without questions, I can't answer anything. So the machine will be out shortly. Unfortunately, I can't give a date. It was supposed to be, actually first quarter of this year, but the world, as you know, has been turned on its head with the pandemic, so it's changed a lot of things. How many cars can a full purple foamed wool pad last? Well, that really depends on you. The severity of the car, how long you polish, and how well you clean your pad. So cleaning your pad, like I mentioned before, never put clean polish on a dirty pad. Cleaning your pad after every time you take it off the paint before you put polish back on it will make it last a lot longer. Another thing that degrades pads is heat. So the less heat you create in your pad, meaning no pressure, lower speeds, and keeping a clean pad, will make your pads last a lot longer. So best way to wash pads, System 3000D. But if you don't have that, there's a couple different ways of doing it on the fly or doing it afterwards. Some people will opt to get 10 or 12 pads and change out at every panel, which is a great system, works well. If you are doing that, one little word of caution though. Allow the machine a couple seconds to cool down, backing plate a couple seconds to cool down before removing the pad. That removing the pad also removes some of the Velcro hooks. So by allowing that plastic to cool down, you're not going to rip the hooks out. The other way of cleaning it, and this really depends on the pad. So if you're using a microfiber pad, you can use a air line blowing across the pad. If you're using foam pads, it is not very good for the pad to use compressed air. And if you're using a traditional 4-ply wool pad, well, the spur still has its place. Now the spur and air create, so please wear a mask. Mask isn't just for social distancing, it's also for working. So please wear a mask, and at the same time, if you have other people around you, be conscious that you're blowing dust in the air. The other way of cleaning a pad is simply a damp microfiber. So if you're using a foam pad, you can use a damp microfiber with Snappy Clean and run your pad against that damp microfiber. That will clean off a lot of the paint residue and polish residue from the pad. Then stick it in a bucket and spin it up to the full speed of the machine. That will allow it to spray off any excess water without getting it all over the place, and it'll collect in the bucket. So that is one way, is take the pad off, go to the sink, or if you have a bucket close by, rinse it in the bucket, again, put it back on your machine and spin it out at full speed for a few seconds just to get the excess water out of the pad. Properly washed pad barely weighs a gram more than a dry pad. And that damp pad does a lot of things for you. One of the things that it does, it cools the pad, and a cooler pad works better. The other thing, it provides lubrication, so you don't have any instances of dry buffing. You won't get yourself a dry piece of foam abrading the surface. And that's especially important with a dual action machine. So, thanks a lot for asking. Any other questions? As I said, I'm here to answer your questions, whether they're pad related or not. This is we're on a detailing group. This is for detailers, and I'm happy to answer your questions if I can. And if I can't, I'll be honest with you, I won't answer it. There's no point in answering a question when you don't know the answer. So, but there's always people that we can refer to find out the answer. Now, you don't have to know every answer in life. You just need to know where to get the answers. And this is one of the places to get answers on detailing. So apparently we don't have many people asking questions this evening. So that's one thing. Let me behind us is our new bus. So those of you that follow me personally will know that Sylvie and I live in a bus, 1973 GMC, and we're renovating this bus to make it our new home. So after you dampen the pad, sometimes it feels sticky on the paint. Either not enough polish or it's still too wet. So depending on what machine you have, spin it out at full speed. Now, if you have a Flex 3401 or any of the machines that are forced rotation, unfortunately, they are not capable of spinning the pad fast enough to get the excess moisture out. In that case, you can either remove the pad, put it on another machine, or take a dry microfiber towel and blot your pad to get the excess moisture out. And too much polish is not a good thing either. So you have to dose that. Find out what your polish manufacturer recommends in terms of quantity on the pad. And using a damp pad, you don't necessarily need to prime the pad with excess amounts of polish. So you can simply put the 3, 4, 5, whatever number of dots they want, or spray it on if it's a spray polish, and you're able to get that on the surface and on the pad. One of the things you want to avoid is putting too much polish on the pad for a number of reasons. First of all, like I said, heat, generation, all that, but also sling. Your polish should stay relatively close and underneath of your pad, not flying everywhere on the car, in the shop, and things like that. So it's just a matter of habit, getting to know how much is on there. Have I ever tested Opti Gel Coat Restore on spided gel coat? Jonathan, if you can give me a little hint as to what spided is. It might be autocorrect that is putting a word in your mouth or a word on your keyboard. But on failed gel coat, yes, it's definitely the way to go. Instead of polishing, you can restore gel coat using a chemical that actually builds the gel coat back up. One of the things with gel coat that a lot of people don't realize, it's an extremely porous substance. And okay, yeah, you hate the sling as well. So yeah, the routine, eventually it's where you can use the washer. What's holding the backing plate back will wear eventually, and then you'll have a free spinning machine. Back to Jonathan's question on the gel coat. With gel coat, before even polishing it or before even restoring it, use an APC, relatively full strength or very little dilution, but always do a test spot, and clean your gel coat with the APC and either a brush or even a mild Scotch-Brite pad. What that will do is remove the loose oxidation from the gel coat, leaving you solid gel coat to work with. It's going to prevent loading of the pads, spidered. Okay. So spidered meaning cracked. No, it's not going to help with that. It's going to make it shiny, but it's not going to fix that. That's a gel coat that unfortunately needs to be sanded and re-gel coated, or they can sand it and paint it. Those little spider cracks, once it's gotten to that point in its life, it's not really savable. But back to gel coat, polishing gel coat. So a lot of people will use a wool pad on a rotary, their first cut on gel coat. If they don't clean it with the APC first, that pad is going to get loaded with everything the APC would have removed. So by using an APC first, all-purpose cleaner, for those that don't follow the acronyms, so by using an all-purpose cleaner, you're going to remove that loose oxidation and allow your polishing to do a better job. Now, another thing on gel coat, if you're using a polish that contains a lot of hydrocarbon solvents or oils, it's going to temporarily mask the so next week's topic, to be determined. So anyways, so your polish that contains high solvents or high oils is temporarily going to mask the fading or the gel coat errors or problems and look like you've done a great job. A month or two later, those evaporate away, and you'll see the fading coming back. Mike, so you know that certain polishers don't trim. Is there a certain chemical in the SDS that causes others to stain? There's a lot of different chemicals that cause that to stain. It could be the abrasives, it could be the solvents in them, it could be the oils. So there's a lot of things. You want to test your polish. And if a polish stains trim, personally, it's not a polish that I'd like to use. I'm not a big fan of taping. it takes a lot of time. Sure, it looks cool, but it takes a lot of time, and I rather actually polish the trim if I'm using a polish that can do that. So Cole, you could use a few tips on polishing gel coat. Well, first thing, as I mentioned, clean it with APC. So your all-purpose cleaner is going to get loose oxidation that normally you would have to work hard to polish away. Second, do not create any heat. Heat, again, will temporarily mask, make it look great, and it's going to come back. So you don't want to use a lot of heat. You don't want to use a lot of pressure, and do a test spot, just like paint. There's a lot of different variables, and gel coat is extremely variable. You can have one section of the boat that you have an extremely hard gel coat, and another section of the boat that's very soft. That's because when they mix it in the factories, it's hand mixed in small batches. They may have run out of a batch halfway through a boat. They'll mix up another batch. They're in a little bit of a rush. Don't put exactly the amount of hardener that they should, or too much hardener, and voila, you have gel coat that doesn't react the same when you start polishing. And there can also be gel coat repairs that have been done over the years on the boat or RV. So again, do a test spot, and you might find that your test spot worked great on the bow. When you get to the stern of the boat, it's like, ooh, what's that? This doesn't work anymore. So you need to adapt as you go. The least amount of heat you create, the better it is. The least amount of pressure you use on your polisher, the better it is. It doesn't create heat. Your pads are going to last longer. And definitely keep your pads clean with gel coat, because it loads up the pads incredibly quickly. And once your pad is loaded with gel coat, it's not polishing anymore. It's just creating heat. So you need to keep your pads clean, clean them often, and go from there. Any other questions? Back to the staining of trim. So find a polish that doesn't stain trim, and then you're able to actually polish that trim. Again, you can restore to a certain point, even faded trim, using a good polish. Another trick on a texture trim is to use a waffle pad, so a black waffle pad with a polish that doesn't stain trim, and it's actually going to get in and clean that trim. So even if you have a customer that accidentally waxed their trim, then hey, you can remove that wax using a polish. Cole, it's a family member that's going to be cost effective, is really worth putting a good coating on. They say it will last 3 years. And thanks for the tips. Yeah, putting a coating on fiberglass gel coat is a great way of protecting it. The one, you still have to be careful that you're not trapping oxidation below the coating. The coating will not prevent oxidation. The coating will slow down oxidation. On a brand new boat, yes, a coating is extremely effective at preventing oxidation. But gel coat that's already started to oxidize will continue to oxidize pretty much no matter what you put on top of it. So if it's an older boat, yes, the coating is going to last, but this is where your polishing and your prep before the polishing becomes even important. As we mentioned earlier in the comments, next week's subject to be determined. So if you have any ideas, thoughts, suggestions, put them down here. Even after this live is over, this live goes onto YouTube, and you can follow it on YouTube. You can, if you're not able to see them live, they're on the Lake Country Manufacturing page on Facebook. There's also links on Instagram, and they're uploaded to the Lake Country Manufacturing or Lake Country MFG YouTube page for you to view at your leisure whenever you want. And we're actually past our time, so thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching to help everybody out. And you can reach me at lakecountrymfg.com as well if you have any additional questions that weren't answered here. And you can put them in the notes or in the comments, and I look and I follow up on them. So thanks a lot. Cole, okay, no oxidation yet. Last owner rubbed a few docks, and thanks a lot. Always happy to chat with you. Same with me as well, Cole. Thanks a lot for the questions, and we'll see you next week.